Hello guys, my name is Aman Paralia. I'm working as a senior software engineer at InfraCloud Technologies. So I will be talking about Thinkable, which is an open source project developed by Packet team, and I am a core contributor, one of the core contributor in this project. So I will be talking about it in this webinar. So Tinkerbell is actually about bare metal provisioning. So in this cloud native world, we are moving towards cloud, right? So there are a lot of cloud providers today in the market, like Google Clouds, AWS Clouds, or something else. But still, there are few use cases, few things in which we would like to have a server besides me, or like I need to provision a bare metal server in which I will be storing my data instead of using the AWS or any other cloud native thing. So I will be talking about how the Thinkable helps you when it's about bare metal provisioning. So this will be our agenda for today. We will be talking about bare metal concepts. First, we'll talk about what makes a server, what is a network booting, use cases especially, and the challenges that we face, and then we will move to Thinkable as soon as possible. And yeah, so let's start with what is bare metal. So when we heard of the term bare metal, we think about two things, like this can be like two things. The left, so I have provided two pictures. The left picture is a kind of rack of servers which is used in the data centers, right? And the right one is nothing but a Raspberry Pi board, a small Raspberry Pi board, which is actually being used in many of the IoT devices and IoT use cases. So these are two bare metal I can think of, two types of bare metal I can think of. So let's talk about what makes a bare metal a server. So the first and foremost thing, it should have a network support. Basically, it should have network interfaces which should support IPMI, and also have a NIC card, like an NIC card, which can be of today's 10 Gbps or something like that. The secondary thing a bare metal should have is like storage, which so that it can like manage the stuff like RAID and all, so that if our data is lost, we can be able to recover it using the RAID and the other stuff, RAID replication and everything. The third thing that is required for bare metal is boot environment. So boot environment is nothing but like in which order we want to boot. For example, if you want to boot from a device or from something, or from like if you want to boot from the actual device, or if you want to boot from the USB device, or if you want to boot from a network. So when you talk about booting from the network, the IPXE comes into the picture. So it should have a support of IPXE if you want to do a network boot, or if you want to boot a bare metal or a machine from the scratch without having anything on it. Okay, so let's talk about the network booting, which is the main stuff if you talk about the bare metal. So as we talk about, it should support PXE or IPXE. So PXE is nothing but a pre-executable environment, so like before it boots up into BIOS or something else. And IPXE is nothing but an extended version of PXE, which is open source. And DHCP is actually provides you IP dynamically, and TFTP is there to provides the initial file system. So when you boot up, when you try to provision a machine, it should have a minimal OS or a minimal platform in which it can run and all the things, and the provisioning can happen. And for that it required something like a RAM, which is like in memory files, like init RAM, like in memory file systems, and basic VM, which have VM Linux, like basic file, which have a very basic OS, something like Alpine or something. The third thing is NFS. So the NFS is like a network file system. So if, for example, if you don't have the storage in your hardware, for example, in Raspberry Pi board, which we are talking about here. So Raspberry Pi board is actually consists the hardware using the micro SD cards. So suppose if we lost a micro SD card, or there's a corruption of micro SD cards, and if you want to provision that again, Raspberry Pi system, then what you can do is you can mount a directory or in your Raspberry Pi into the network itself, into the network card itself, which will be nothing but will be mounted on the provisioner machine or a different machine through the network, obviously. Yeah, so this is the important part here. So we are talking about bare metal, but why we are talking about bare metal? Why in this cloud world we are still talking about bare metal things? So the first thing, existing infrastructure services. So there are a lot of companies which has their own data center today, and they want to use it for their own purpose, and they want to provide that thing to other companies as well. So the existing infrastructure is still want to use a bare metal things instead of the cloud things. The second important thing is data security. So if you talk about a very classified data, like the data of for a particular bank, like which account holder is having like how much of money in his account, something like that. So these are very classified data which required quite a lot of security. So that's why all the banks on all those kind of companies, all those kind of domain where data security is a major concern, they still want to use bare metal. They still want to use their own data center instead of putting the data on the clouds. The third thing is latency. So when it is about cloud, whichever it is, you will get a limited latency. After the limit crossed, you cannot decrease that particular latency. Instead of that, if you use the bare metal, you will get almost zero latency, like last mile latency or whatever it will be, almost zero latency. And the fourth thing is about consistent and predictable performance. So this is a very important term when you talk about the storage things, and when you talk about the using any kind of storage or servers. So you want like consistent performance, a very good performance which should be consistent, and if there is any problem, you should be able to predict it, right? So in the cloud world, you don't know, you even know about where your data is even being put in, right? So in that case, you don't even you cannot consist, the performance is not consistent. There can be ups and downs in your performance without even knowing, with the same workload that you have. And for example, and if you increase your workload or if you decrease your workload, how much performance it's gonna impact, you cannot predict it. But if you have your own bare metal machine in which you know that I have this much of RAM or this much of things, so if I want to increase the workload, I should increase my RAM or network device or like NIC card or whatever. So you can get the consistent and predictable performance in case of bare metal servers or bare metal storage. So the challenges, so the thing is, you get a lot of control when you have your bare metal within your premise, right? But and that's how it is. Increase of control comes with the increase of complexity, right? So for example, if you have a data center, you want to create a data center for a bank or something like that, and which should have like hundreds of servers. So it is difficult to manage and provision or manage the large scale infrastructures in case of bare metal. And you also have to sometimes deal with like different type of CPUs like Intel x86, x86, ARM64, and there are other CPU as well, like comes with like IBM servers as well. And also you need to deal with different distros. For example, for any use case, you want to provision half of your servers with CentOS and half of your servers with Ubuntu. Then they will the complexity will increase again in this case. So these are the challenges which bare metal face when it comes to bare metal, a user will face, right? So here comes the Tinkable as a complete solution, I would say. Yeah. So Tinkable is actually nothing but a project which help you to provision a machine automatically, right? So it's an automated bare metal provisioning engine, as the title says. So it consists of 5 microservices. First is Tink, another one is Boots, Heagle, Aussie, and PBNJ. So as mentioned there in the diagram, Tink is responsible for provisioning and work as a workflow engine. So Tink is actually a kind of you can say an interface with the help of which you deal with all of your Tinkable components, right? So it's about and all the services. Boots is responsible for DHCP and IPXC things that we talk about, DHCP or TFTP services. And Heagle is there to provide you metadata of the particular hardware in case of requirement. And as we talked about earlier in this slide, that we need some initial file system or initial files to put into a network. So here we comes the Aussie. So in the Aussie is actually not a kind of service, I would say. It's a more or less a combination of files which is required when it comes to network boot. And PBNJ is a process which is like just to control your power off and power on of your system, and boot control services. For example, if you want to boot from IPXC, or if you want to boot from something somewhere else, like a disk, inbuilt disk, or something like USB or something like that. So this is the diagram in which you can easily say that for a workflow, to run a workflow, or basically to provision a bare metal machine, you need a already provisioned or control plane, a kind of control plane which is like provisioner machine. So on the provisioner machine, the component of Tinkable will be running. For example, on the provisioner there is Tink server. So Tink is a complete workflow engine. So it has 3 parts. One is Tink CLI, which is being used by the administrator or the user to interact with the Tink server. And on the provisioner there is a Tink server which is running, which is actual workflow engine and responsible for executing those, with maintaining the workflows and the data. And on the provisioner, Boots, Heagle, and Aussie will also be present, so that they can handle the DHCP, TFTP, the metadata service, and the installation environment. files. So if you and this is in the below in the like lower part of the diagram, there are three worker machine. So it may be one, two, or three. We'll talk about only, we'll think about only one. So there's one machine which want to provision itself. So in this diagram I will be providing you a kind of workflow, a kind of basically flow chart or or the flow in which the provisioning will happen if you use the Tinkable. So what you need to do is, first of all, you need to up your provisioner, right? So when you start your provisioner, there are a lot of service which will be running on the Tink on the provisioner. One of them is like Tink server, is Boots, Higgle. As I mentioned, Aussie is not a service, it's just a combination of file, but it should be present on the provisioner machine, so that can be served once the provisioning starts. Yeah, so this is a provisioner, and also there are two important things which should also be there in the Tink server. One is the database, in which your hardware data, template data, workflow data will be stored, and a private Docker registry in which I will be hosting images of the actions of the workflow. Like what are the actions? For example, your boot process required a lot of actions. Like first you want to remove, or you want to do a disk wipe operation. So for that you will build an image for disk wipe, and then you will push that image in the private Docker registry. We'll talk about that in the later slide. And so yeah, so this is a kind of a flow. So what it does is, so first user need to put all the hardware details in the Tink server using the Tink CLI in a JSON format. So what are the hardware details, like hardware ID and the MAC and the IP it wants, and an IP which it required or it has. The second thing is like template, which is the like most important part of a workflow, because it defines a workflow. So user can define its own template. So whatever he wants to use, whatever user want to provision. For example, if a user want to provision into CentOS or Ubuntu, or if user want to do something else, so he can define its own template. So we'll talk about template later again in the details. And third thing is workflow. So workflow is nothing but a combination of template and the hardware. So for example, if you have multiple templates stored in your Tink server and multiple bare metal hardwares stored in your Tink server, so what you can do is you can select any of the template, any of the hardware to create a workflow. So if I would like to give you a quick demo out of it, that how does it work. So for example, if you want to so there are Tink hardware. Okay, so this is basically so I have deployed a Vagrant, a VirtualBox, a virtual machine with the help of Vagrant, which is working as a control plane. So if you will see, so here are the things. If you can see it out here, so there are as I mentioned that the Tink CLI, Tink server, registry, Higgle, Boots, and the DB and the Nginx is also running out of it. So Nginx is actually used to serve the TFTP files to the worker machine or the bare metal machine, right? So if I will go into the CLI, if I'll do the docker exit into the CLI, and I will try to do a hardware which I have listed on. So these are the two hardwares uh, which I have pushed in the hardware database. So if you want to check any of the details of the hardware, for example, you can provide a MAC address of particular hardware here using the MAC command, and then you can provide hyphen hyphen details flag, and then you will get the complete metadata, so which is like this in the JSON format. So basically this is the minimum hardware data which you require to store for a particular hardware. So in which comes the metadata part, the network part, at least one interface it should have, which should be of a type DHCP, and it should have a MAC address, host name, architecture, and then in IP it should have an IP it wants to get, and the netboot is like allow pxe is true, and allow workflows should also be true to get the workflow running. And there's a last field which is very important, like ID of the particular hardware, which is like unique across the hardware. Yeah, so this is the hardware data. So let's talk about the template again. So just like hardware, we also have like Tink template list. So if you want to look at what this template is like, so it is like this. Yeah, so this is a very basic template which is required to run a workflow. So the template should have a version and the name of the template, the global timeout. The global timeout is nothing but is actually the time in which all the tasks in the particular template should be completed, otherwise the workflow will get timeout. So and there will be task, and in the task there will be there can be multiple actions and there can be multiple tasks as well in a particular template, and in a particular task there can be multiple actions. So here I have just mentioned one action named as server partitioning, but I'm just using the hello world image, so I will be just saying the hello. And so the important part is here is this one. So the worker is actually dot device one. So what will happen is, so when I will be creating a workflow, right? So let's see what is the workflow. So I have already created these workflows which executed successfully. So what I will do is I will be doing Tink workflow. I will be deleting two of them, or it's not even required. So what you can do, you can see first of all what it takes to create a workflow. Yeah, so as you can see, the Tink workflow create command is actually required a template UID. So I have a template which have a UID, this one, and then it required a hardware string. So it is nothing but a targeted hardware. So when I will be creating a new workflow, So in the hyphen T, I will be providing the targets, the template which I need to execute, and in the hyphen R, I will be providing the targeted device in and the MAC address of a particular device. So as you can see, my workflow has created. So here the important thing is this key of this input should match with the key that the template has. So if you will see, it will replace the MAC address of that of the in place of device 1 in the template. So let's see what is the workflow. Yeah, so this is how my workflow is looking like. It is saying that your global timeout is 600. As I mentioned, the template defines a workflow. Now my workflow is also know that it should also run on like this worker which has this MAC address. So when it receives the ID or the request from this MAC address, only then it will provide the workflow that okay, start this workflow. And the important part is the image of the hello world should be there in your private Docker registry, which is running here on your provisioner machine. So this is like yeah, so this is the private Docker registry which is running. So it should have the hello world image, and it should also have that Tink worker image as well. So as you can see, my Docker, the private registry's IP is this. So it has the Tink worker image, and it also has the hello world image in itself. So now what I will do is I will start another VM with the help of Vagrant. Okay, so we'll look into that later once we'll go for the demo. So this is how your provisioner looks like. Yeah. So let's talk about this. So Tinkable, basically the provisioner, as I talk about, is a control plane. It should have boot, it should have Heagle, boots for DHCP and TFTP, Heagle for providing metadata of machine, Tink server, Tink CLI, and PSQL is nothing but basically a DB, deployment of a DB, which is used to store the hardware data, the events, and basically the templates and everything else. The private Docker registry I talked about, it should have the image of Tink worker. I think there's a spelling mistake there in the image section. Yeah, so it should have a image of Tink worker, and also all the actions, the image of all the actions which are there in the template should be stored and should be stored in the registry. Okay, so this is the hardware data that I had already given you the reference. So this is the minimal hardware data which is required. So this is the same as I shown you that it required ID, metadata, and the network. The network should have interface. At least one of them should have a DHCP type, architecture of CPU, and the IP like what IP I would like to have, and the MAC address. So here it is 00000. It's just like the sample, and if you will see here, you will see the MAC address is actually this, and is UEFI is not required now. Previously it was required, but not now. We have removed that dependency as well. So yeah, so let's talk about template. As I've shown you a very basic template in my example, which is nothing but like this one, right? So this is a very basic template, but your template can be as complex as this one. Like it can have task. So task, there can be multiple tasks, and each task should have like name, the worker is nothing but a VM, or the machine, or the bare metal machine you want to provision, and the volumes. So all the volumes you will define at the task level will be used for each and every action. So we support that volume level things at the task level. And if there is a particular volume for a particular action, then it should also be supported, as you can see in the lower in the action. And also the environment variables, for example the mirror host. So mirror host is at the task level, so mirror host will be applicable to all the actions. So all the actions will be using this mirror host envs if required. And and then there is actions. So actions, the basic requirement of action is like the name of the action, the image, like the name of the image which it will fetch from the private Docker registry that we talked about here, right? Yeah. So so action should have the name, the image, and action should also can also have its own timeout. For example, if disk wipe is not completed within 90 seconds, so by default it is seconds. If disk wipe is not completed within 90 seconds, the action should timed out, and the workflow should return as an error. And the next, so same for the next action, the disk partition. So these are the basic things when you install any OS on your bare metal machine. So first you do a disk wipe, then you do a disk partition, and then you install a rootfs, which is provided by the Aussie, as I talked about. So rootfs means the very basic OS in which you will run all those things. Then you will install the actual graph files which is you want to do. For example, if you want to install the Ubuntu, you will install the graph files for Ubuntu. uh, yeah. So the image name should be very careful. For example, if you have you want to basically have two template, one for CentOS and one for installing the Ubuntu. So in that case, your the first two action will remain the same, and the last action install grub. The name of the image should change. It should like install grub Ubuntu or install grub CentOS, something like that. And we also support volume at particular action level. So in that case, the volume which is there on the action will be mounted, not for the remaining actions. So this is how a workflow definition or a template looks like. Yeah, so this I have already shown. So this is a way in which your CLI works. Like you have Tink hardware, Tink template, and Tink workflow. So these are the three main CLIs. So I'm gonna show you how it will. So basically, in this slide as well, you can see you can exact like basically and enter into a Tink CLI container, and then you can run Tink hardware push, and then you can provide a file in which your hardware data is there, which is nothing but a hardware data in JSON format. So I will be showing you that again. So if you can see, Tink hardware actually support these few like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 commands. One is like delete, id is like get hardware by id, ip is like ip, get hardware by any associated ip, list means list all the known hardwares, mac is like get hardware by any associated mac, push is like new hardware like to Tink, which I've shown you in the slide. So if you want to do it like this, so what I can do is I will can create a file which can have the data. Yeah, so for that, first we should make sure that this id is not present in your hardware. So what we will do is we will first of all list all the hardware. So as you can see, this id is already present. So what I will do, I will change that id for now, because every hardware will have their unique ip. So I'll make it as 2, and also the MAC address as well. So if you will see, the particular MAC address is there already there in the list. Say this, like this one. So you also need to change that as well, otherwise you will not be able to store that data into your database. So I have changed the MAC address and the IP address. So what I'm gonna do is so it says hardware data pushed successfully. So what we can do, we can just list the hardware. So now it has 3 hardwares. Initially it was having 2, now it has 3 hardwares. So which out of which 2 of has can have same IP. So one of them can run at a time. So it should also have a unique IP as well. So what I will do is I will simply override that thing, and I will again do the same thing. So if the ID remains the same, the data will be overwritten. So now you can see the IP has changed for the hardware. So when you will start with this MAC address, then it will look for this IP. So now it comes to creation of a template. When you create a template, you need to have a template name. So let me show you that. So it has functionality of create, delete, get, list, and update, right? So what you can do a Tink template create. So I have a sample template here, okay, which is nothing but again a hello world, but I need to have a unique name for it. So now let me check what are the so I have a template name here, which in which the template name is sample. So I cannot if I create a new template, I must have a different name, otherwise it will not be able to get the basically the template. So if you will try Tink template create -n sample 2 -p, which is nothing but a path of the file, of the template file. So as you can see, it has created the template, and now if you will list, it will have basically 2 templates. One of is named as sample and one is named as sample 2. And then the third one is the workflow. So I have already shown you the workflow creation part. So what it can have is like it can have workflow create -t, the template UID, and then it can have the device 1 as a key. This key can be changed as per the templates. So if your template, for example, if your template here has worker, if you change it to device 1 from like worker 1, then while creation of a template, you need to have here like worker 1 or something, right? So since we have not updated the template yet in the database, because it is simply changed here, but if you will try to get the template, which we have just created, so we have just created this one right here. So here it is still device 1, so you can update it if you want with the help of Ting template update. Yeah, so this is how you can so now I will be taking care of like which workflow I've created. So as you can see, I have like workflow which is Dell 2122. Yeah, so this is the new workflow which I have created. So I can check where the state or state of that workflow. So it says that this is the workflow, but it is as the progress is 0% and the current action state is pending. So what I will do is I will see what is this workflow, the MAC address basically. So this workflow is related to this MAC address. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another VM with the help of Vagrant. Yeah, so this is my Vagrant file. So what I will do, I will simply change the MAC address from here to 0822 and yeah, here as well, right? So now I will be giving you the demo. So as we know that we already have prepared the setup. So for preparing this setup, what you can do, you can go to the Tinkerbell.org, which I have opened it for you. So you can go to the documentation part, and then you can go to the setup, and you can do a local setup with Vagrant. So this will provide you all the steps with the help of which you can up your provisioner machine, and then you can start your workflow, right? And this is the source code of Tinkerbell. So this is the project in which we have Tink, Aussie, Heagle, Boots, and everything else. So I'll just show you the quick demo. So what I will do, I will be just start a worker, basically a new virtual machine with the help of VirtualBox. So and as I've shown you the Vagrant file. In the Vagrant file, the MAC address is, I have changed the MAC address to this one, and here as well for the worker part, and again here as well if you want to do any customization part. So I have changed the MAC address to the one in which the workflow is pointing to. So when I will be starting this Vagrant machine, when I will be starting this VirtualBox named as worker with the command this Vagrant up worker. So what it will do, it will first import a base OS of Alpine, and then it will start uh, basically in the IPXE mode. So as you can see, the worker has already started, and now it is going for installation. So it is asking for an IP. It has gotten 1.4 as an IP here. Now it is asking for few files. Like give me the TFTP files, like. So it has gone to files VM lineage and initramfs from the Aussie part, and now it has started the installation of OS, the basically base OS which Aussie has provided, which is nothing but Alpine. So now I will just would like to show you something like the logs. So once so once this worker boots up, it will start the worker. Now it will send the request to Tink server. Yeah, so I think there's something wrong with it. Invalid state. I'm sorry, I think there's something wrong I have done. So let me do it. So what we can do, we can simply close this one and destroy this worker because it has got some error because of the Tink worker, I guess. So what I will do, I will destroy this one. Yeah, so what I will do, I will tag this latest image with the registry image, and then I will push that particular image in the registry itself. So I am pushing the Tink worker latest image in my local registry, and then I will again go to the exec, and then I can again go to the, maybe I can just say Tink workflow get. Let's see what are the state of this workflow. So it has not been yet started. So what we can do, we can go again, destroy this current worker which has caused the error, and then we can start up again. I hope this works fine. So got the IP. Now waiting for the TFTP files. So this is getting the TFTP files from the Nginx and through OG. Sorry, from the OG through Nginx. I hope that works. Yeah, so this works fine now. So as you can see, the workflow state which I have created is now 100% completed, and the state is success. The worker on which the workflow was running has this ID. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, so if you take a look at this, so I have this IID in my hardware which has this MAC address which I provided as an input when I created the workflow, and this is the IP it got from the boots through DHCP, and now it is success. You can also check the events of the particular hardware for the particular actions. So if you can see that, let me minimize that a bit. Yeah, so if you can see that it is saying that this action name is server partitioning, start execution, that action in progress, and it has taken almost 0 time and finished execution successfully with the action state as success. So we'll go and verify what happens on this worker. So I will simply log into the root, and okay, I'll see the worker has completed his task and exited with 0, means a worker executed very successfully. So I just go with the logs, and I will take this log in the log file so that I can go through it. Okay, yeah, so this is like, okay, like this. So what we are doing is we are retrying interval is not set. So this is a env variables that you can set or as per your convenient, right? And so it has started the work, it got the workflow which is like completed in the completion state, and then it got some other workflow which is not in the completion state, and then it has started like, so it has got the action name as OS installation, task name as OS installation, action name as server partitioning, level is this, and so what is doing it is pulling the hello world image which is there in the action of named as server partitioning. Okay, and then it is pulling it from the private registry, not from the Docker Hub. Okay, okay, so now it executes the hello world image and it prints the output in the container itself, and then it says that okay, this contain so each action runs in a different separate container. So it contains container ID is like this, which is the container removed with the status action success. and then it sent the action state of the particular workflow to the Tink worker. So this is actually the state which is set by the worker, that I have completed this task successfully. So it says that action status is success, and that's why here if you can see this got this finished execute successfully with the action success. So this workflow had only one task. If you will see this, so the task name was OS installation, which is there. The action name was server partitioning, which is there. The image is for hello world, which is the output of which is there in this file. You can see that hello from Docker. This message shows that, something like that, right? Yeah, so this is all about the demo, and so let's go to the slides back again. So as I've said, these are the two links, tinkerbell.org and github.com.